Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. On this episode, I want to throw out a scenario to you that I got on TikTok. It came from my homie, Baylor the Great. You know him, you love him. You've heard his podcast, BTG for President and Open Run with BTG. That's my boy. He's been on here several times. He sent something to me on TikTok, and it was a scenario. And I'm going to read to you the scenario. And when I saw it, I was like, this is a podcast episode. So the scenario goes a little something like this. You wake up and it's back to 1995. There's no Wi-Fi. There are no cell phones. You're back at the simple life. What are you going to do? And when I saw that, I immediately thought, like, this is a podcast episode. So, Baylor, I know you're listening. Here's what I would do. Okay, it's 1995. One of the first things that I'm going to do, I'm going to take whatever money that I had in 1995. And it wasn't a lot. Let's just say it was $2,000, 2 racks. I'm going to take that money. And I'm going to invest in this thing called Microsoft. And the reason why I'm going to invest in Microsoft, Baylor, is because in 1995, Microsoft launched this thing called Windows 95. And from what I remember, it was the thing. And if I had invested my refund check from school, because I was in college at the time at South Carolina State University. I hadn't graduated yet, but I did have 2 bands. So I got my refund check as $2,000. If I invest that $2,000 at that particular time into Microsoft, which at this particular time, Microsoft wasn't what you may think it was, but this is a level of insider trading to some degree because I know what Microsoft is going to be. So I'm taking that $2,000, I'm investing it in Microsoft, more specifically Windows 95, and I'm not touching that money again until 30 years later. I'm not going to say I would be filthy rich, but I would be sitting pretty high. So yeah, that would be one of the first things that I would do. I would invest in Microsoft because, like I said, in 1995, Windows 95 got launched, and it was everything. And I think a lot of us didn't understand the impact or where it was going because there was a thing called the internet that was really about to come upon us. It hadn't hit us just yet, but it was out, and it was the information highway. It was a place where you could get any and everything. And, you know, to live in a world without the internet is what we did up until that point. Now, a lot of you listening and watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. A lot of you don't know what the world looked like without the internet. And it's not your fault. Some of you weren't born yet, right? So I'm not speaking down to you, but I mean, like, we had an idea as to how to make things happen without the advent of technology, meaning the internet. As I mentioned, there was no Wi-Fi, no cell phones. There were cell phones, but nobody could afford cell phones back then. So that was something I would do. You know what else I do, Baylor? If I woke up and it was 1995, no Wi-Fi, no cell phones, and I'm back to the simple life, you know what I would do? I would not have cheered when they read the OJ verdicts. I mentioned before on an episode that I did a couple of years ago. It was called They Died, We Cheered. I wouldn't have cheered. And it's not because, and I mentioned in the episode, and it's worth repeating. As many of you know, O.J. Simpson was acquitted of murder of two people, his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman. And we all know the story. O.J., was found innocent. Well, he was found not guilty, excuse me, because there's a difference. He was found not guilty. And again, I was on a college campus, and I just remember being in the dorm when we got the news that the verdicts were going to be read. When I tell you, everybody was surrounding the TV. If you were either in your room or you were downstairs in the lobby, like everybody was in front of a TV. The whole world at this particular time, literally and figuratively, were around their TVs. And when the verdict was read, a lot of people who thought that OJ was innocent, a lot of people who thought that OJ didn't kill these two people, a lot of people who were rooting for OJ just because they didn't want the justice system to stick it to him. When those verdicts were read, they cheered and they danced and they partied and they had a good time. And for some, it looked like this may have been the first time that someone literally and figuratively got away with murder, right? And it was for the world to see. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't watch the entire OJ trial. I wasn't up on it, because I was in class, right? So, but I knew enough and watched enough to know that it was something that, was a spectacle. I mean, like, literally, it was the trial was covered. It was so popular that it was covered on network TV every single day. So imagine you tuning in to watch your favorite game show or, your favorite soap opera in the afternoon. You tuning in to watch The Young and the Restless, and you can't watch it because the OJ trial is on every single day for the better part of 6 months, I think. I think that's how long the trial was. Nonetheless, I would not have cheered. I don't think for a second that O.J. Simpson did not kill those two people. And at the very least, Baylor, if he didn't kill him, he was there when it happened. So I don't think O.J. didn't do it. And I can't, based on what I know back then and what I know now, they never could prove his total whereabouts as to when it actually happened. So that leads me to believe that at the very least, because I don't know how you could murder two people at the same time. But then again, I've never thought about murdering two people at the same time, but that's another story. I don't know that he wasn't there. So if he was there, at the very least, something tells me he had a hand in it, right? So I would not have cheered on October 3rd. I wouldn't have. I would not have. Another thing, I wake up, it's 1995. There is no cell phones. There's no Wi-Fi. What am I doing? Baylor. I'm going to the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. That was something that I really wanted to do. I just didn't have the time nor the money to go as a college student. I was playing football at the time. We were in the middle. I want to say that was that had to be in the spring, I think. So we had spring practice. And I knew a couple of people that went. But no, I wasn't trying to go. I mean, I wanted to go. I just didn't. I didn't have the funds. So I would have definitely gone to the Million Man March. Million Man March, as many of you know, led by the Nation of Islam's Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan is someone who said a lot at that particular time. Some would call him controversial. I wouldn't call him controversial, but he spoke a lot, and a lot of people had problems with what he had to say. I think there was a lot of truth in what he said, in some of the things he said. And if you went to, or if you were like me, a student at South Carolina State University, we had a different kind of feel for Minister Farrakhan because of his nephew, Aaron Muhammad. As many know, or probably a lot of you don't know, Aaron Muhammad, which was Louis Farrakhan's nephew, was a student at South Carolina State University. And one day, and Aaron was like one of the most popular kids on campus. And I mean, we're talking about a campus of like 6,500 kids. He was one of the most popular kids on campus. He was in student government, the whole night, a really positive young brother. I mean, sharp, always, dressed to the T, bow tie, the whole nine. Never met a stranger. One day, Aaron was found hung in his dorm room. Now, that sent shockwaves through our campus. Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam came to our campus. People were questioned. The police were there. But they could not identify that if someone did, because here's the thing. Knowing Aaron the way, and I didn't know him that well, but I knew of him and knew, had a couple of conversations with him. He didn't really seem like the type that would take his own life, right? And so people expected or suspected that there was foul play. The police were not able to determine that there was any foul play, but nonetheless, I said all that to say this: as sad as it was, there was a level of compassion and love for Minister Farrakhan on our campus. So, and this happened, I think Aaron died in 93, 94. And so when Minister Farrakhan organized the Million Man March, there were kids who were on buses from our school that went to the Million Man March. Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't go, but barely, if I got a chance to go, I would go. It's 1995. I wake up. We're back 30 years. What am I doing? I'm cussing my position coach at South Carolina State the hell out. I'll tell this story again, and I'll be brief in the story. I had an issue with my position coach, who I'm not going to name his name. If you know, you know. But I actually got suspended for a game for breaking curfew. Now, young 12 Kyle breaking curfew was problematic in and of itself, because technically I was in the dorm. I was not in my room, but I was not in the dorm. I mean, I was in the dorm. But it is what it is. I tried to, plead my case, that to no avail, nothing happened. So I get suspended for a game, right? So I get suspended for, we were playing, where were we playing? We were going to, Bethune-Cookman. We were supposed to be going to Bethune. So we didn't go to Bethune. I mean, the team went to Bethune. I went home. And I came back and I practiced, back in the starting lineup, everything, no problem, the whole week. And then so Thursday, we had, at our Thursday practice, the coach announced who's, dressing out for the game. And this particular week, we were playing against Delaware State, and it was our homecoming. And again, keep in mind, I was the starting wide receiver. And so as the coach is calling the names, he gets to the number 12. He goes from he went from like number 11 to number 13. And I'm like, well, why didn't he call my name? And this is my position coach that's saying this. And so he then tells me, so I said, well, coach, why didn't you call my name? He's like, well, we're going to suspend you for this game. I was like, well, I just served my suspension last week. And he was like, oh, this is a 2-week suspension. And I was like, for what? He was like, for breaking curfew. I was like, who? No, listen, there were a couple other people that got suspended for that previous game against Bethune-Cookman. So I wasn't the only one, but I was the only one serving a 2-game suspension. And so I petitioned it. I had a meeting with my position coach, our head coach, Coach Jeffries. And, I was obviously pissed off. Are you feeling nostalgic for the golden eras of rap and soul music? If so, tune in to the Rap Soul Podcast. We are your weekly journey through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, spotlighting the music and the hidden gems that shaped the soundtrack of our lives. From the powerful beats to the soulful melodies, we bring you the best of the past with fresh insights and stories. Rediscover the music that defined a generation. Subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast and enjoy the vibes. If you want a podcast where culture, conversation, and life collide, where you get insightful commentary, engaging discussions, and a fresh perspective on everything, then you need to listen to the 12 Kyle Podcast. Hosted by the one and only, yours truly, 12 Kyle, a voice that you know and trust. This podcast will bring you thought-provoking moments, compelling stories, and a whole lot of fun. Whether you're a first-time listener or just tuning in, each episode promises to be something new and exciting. So sit back, relax, join 12 Kyle, myself, and my guests as we break down the world around us and give you stories that you've never heard before. From nostalgic throwbacks to everything in between, the 12 Kyle Podcast is a front row seat to this conversation. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of the 12 Kyle Podcast, where the vibe is always real and the discussion is always worth your time. Because here's the thing, it's homecoming. Not only is it homecoming, but it's my senior year, right? So what you're telling me is that I'm not going to play in the homecoming game my last year on this campus? You got to be out your fucking mind. And so I handled it with class and grace. My parents called and here's the thing, because my head coach is a family friend. I mean, like, he's known me since I was a little boy. But my position coach and I just didn't get along. And I don't know what the problem was, because if you listen to this podcast, I'm willing to bet that most of you probably think I'm an easy guy to get along with. I will say that. I'm not a troublemaker. But if given the opportunity to relive 1995 again, Baylor, and I'm in that situation again, I'm cussing his ass out. I kept it cool. I was disappointed. I was frustrated, but I never let them see me. I didn't want to be an asshole or be a cancer on the team. But this is my senior year on the field. I will never get that game back. And small side note, we ended up losing the game. So I'm on the sidelines in street clothes and we lose the game. Can't say I was rooting for us to lose, but let's just say I wasn't that sad. But if given the opportunity, I would have been the cancer. I would have cussed him out. I would have done everything. I would have flipped over tables. I would have acted an ass from that point until the last game of the season. But, I played it cool and I was the nice guy about it. And I think I never played the asshole role, but I think in this case, if I'm the asshole and the guy who's the troublemaker, maybe this squeaky wheel will get some oil. Who knows? But yeah, Baylor, I'm cussing his ass out. Oh, another thing. If it's 1995, I wake up, Baylor, and we're in the year of 1995, I am definitely getting word to Biggie and Tupac to knock it off. Those two, by 1995, they were on a collision course to crash. Of course, we lose Tupac in 1996. We lose Biggie in 1997. None of us saw any of that coming. But if we wake up and it's 1995, I'm trying to sit down with Biggie. I'm trying to sit down with Tupac, and I'm trying to tell both of them to knock it off. It's not even worth it. You don't know what happened here. You don't know what happened over here. Knock it off. Knock it off. It's not worth it. Both of you are too talented and you're well respected and loved in your field to be going at each other about this. I'm definitely getting a word to Biggie and Pac. Because they had to chill. And unfortunately, there was nobody around them. Puff and Suge included. that told him like, man, just knock it off. Let's just chill. Let's get money. Let's have fun. Let's do all of these things. Nobody told him that, and unfortunately, we lost them behind some BS. Baylor, if it's 1995, there's no cell phones, there's no Wi-Fi. What am I doing? I am buying more polo. I'm buying as much polo as I can. I didn't. I had different ways of dressing, particularly when I was on campus. Sometimes it would just be like SC State gear, t-shirts. Sometimes it would be jeans and hoodies. Sometimes it would be, t-shirts and Jordans. Sometimes it would be t-shirts and jeans and Timberlands. But when it was time to get fly, I would definitely buy polo. I love polo. I had these polo boots, man. Oh my gosh, those polo boots, brown boots with the little strap across. Listen, those boots were the coolest. I don't know what happened to those boots, but I had nice collared polo shirts. I famously bought a polo jacket that I wore one time and spilled bleach on and never wore it again. Hey, I would definitely buy more polo because in the 90s, you had to be fly. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody stepped out of the dorm trying to be, look like a runway model, but you couldn't come outside looking bummy. That was like a no-go. And that's something that I've carried on for the rest of my life. I may throw on anything in my house. But if I'm stepping outside, I don't even care if I'm going to the mailbox. If I'm walking up my driveway, I'm not like that. I'm not built like that. So I'm not someone who is heavy into fashion. I don't wear Louis Vuitton or Gucci or any of that crazy stuff. But my thing was polo. So Baylor, I would definitely buy more polo. Definitely buy more polo. If it's 1995 when I woke up tomorrow, I had this thing where I had a friend. I'm not gonna say his name. He worked at the record store. And I would go to the record store and I tell him I was coming up there, right? And I would purchase one CD and he would put like 7 or 8 CDs in the bag, but I'm only paying for one, right? And so I would do that all the time. So Baylor, if it's 1995 tomorrow, I'm going to the record store and I'm getting all of the joints. What joints, you ask? The Purple Tape, only built for Cuban Links by Raekwon. Tupac's Me Against the World, Mobb Deep, The Infamous, Liquid Swords by the Genius, Return to the 36 Chambers by Old Dirty Bastard. That's my favorite member of the Wu. He's not the best member of Wu-Tang, but my favorite member of the Wu. Lab Cab in California, Far Side. What else? Dog Food by the Dog Pound. Do You Want More by The Roots. Mr. Smith, LL Cool J. I'm definitely copping Soul Food from Goody Mob. Do or Die, AZ. On Top of the World, 8 Ball and MJG. Goodfellas, Showbiz and AG. I don't know if you know about that, Baylor, but that was tight. That was a tight album. Safe and Sound, DJ Quick. And that's just off the top of my head. I'm trying, there may be a few more, but I'm going to the record store and I'm getting all of those. I'm paying for one, but the rest of them are going in the bag. If it's 1995, obviously it goes without saying, I'm probably going to Florence and spending a lot more time with my parents. Fortunately, my parents are still here, and I spend as much time with them now as I can. But I don't think when I was in college, even though, now keep in mind, my hometown of Florence is only an hour and a half from Orangeburg, where I went to school. So I was like a 90-minute drive away from home. I would go home, but you know how it is, man. Sometimes you know how it is when you come home from school, like you put your bags down and you're right back, especially if my friends were home too. If we were all home from college, I put my bags down and I'd be right back out in the street. So I probably definitely spend more time with the family. One of the things that I know that I did a lot in 1995, Sharice and I used to go for a lot of car rides. So I probably do more car rides with Sharice. We just get in a car and just ride and just talk. And Sharice she was my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife. We met at South Carolina State University. Yeah, we definitely do that. I definitely do that. More car rides. Baylor, if it's 1995 and I wake up and there are no cell phones and there's no Wi-Fi, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm going to financial management class because I didn't go to that class as much as I should have. And I subsequently got a D in a class that I needed to get at least a C in. I hated that class, but I hated it because I didn't show up. Like the class was, okay, Baylor, what I'm about to say is it's not going to make any sense, but just vibe with me here. Bruh, the class was from like 5:30 to 8 o'clock. I hated those classes. I only took one class like that the whole time that I was in college, and it was financial management. I don't like sitting in a classroom for like 2, 3, 4 hours. I hate it. And so what I'm saying is not to justify the grade that I got, because I got what I earned, and I earned a D. But if I had to do it all over again, Baylor, I would definitely be in that class because I didn't show up enough. And honestly, I think I probably could have gotten an F, but I pulled out a D and had to take it over and got a B. But, I definitely show up for financial management class. And it's crazy because I hated the class only to have a career in finance. Go figure. If it's 1995, I'm definitely hanging with my teammates in the dorm and in the locker room. Some of the best times, some of the most broke times that I've ever had was in the dorm at Bethea Hall and the dorm at Mitchell Hall on the campus of South Carolina State University. And some of the funniest times was in the locker room at Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. A lot of stories I cannot and won't tell because I need to protect myself as well as the guilty parties. But we had a ball, and there's no other brotherhood like the brotherhood that we had on that team. We had just won the national championship in 1994. And so repeating as champions was something that we were trying to do. We fell short of it because of jackass coaches like the one that I had, but that's another story for another day. But those are the best times. So I'm obviously doing that. I think that goes without saying. And last thing, Baylor, I'm probably doing, if it's 1995, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm definitely going to Mr. Wings. Mr. Wings was this guy who had a little wing place right on the back end of the campus. It was like a little, I guess it was an early pop-up shop, I guess. And Mr. Wings would serve 10 wings for $2 on Monday nights. Man, listen, now, they were just regular wings, the fried wings, but they weren't, or you could get like buffalo wings. There were no lemon pepper, no honey lemon pepper, nothing like that. But those are some of the best wings. And I mean, like, where else can you get wings for $2? 10 wings for $2? Man, I just got wings the other night. 10 cost like $18. There's no place in America you're going to get 10 wings for $2. But Mr. Wings had really good wings, so I'm definitely doing that. So that's going to do it for me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I got to shout out and salute Baylor, man. I mean, he sent this to me just not even as something to make content for, but in 95, that's what I'm doing, man. 95 was 30 years ago, and it doesn't seem or feel like that. It can, once you get outside and you start running around, or you go to the gym, or you go for a walk and your body's aching and you have parts of your body that's cracking or what have you. But yeah, if it's 95, man, that's what I'm doing. But the cool part about 95 is that I remember it just like it was yesterday, because in a lot of ways it really was. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every Sunday and every Thursday at midnight. If you're on social media, hit us up, 12 Kyle podcast across the board. If you'd like to contribute financially, hit us up, $TWELVE KYLE on the Cash App. Also, we have merch. Look at the description box. Click the link that says merch. You can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. And also, we have a new baby. It is called the Rap Soul Podcast. It is the best music podcast that you've never heard. On that podcast, we talk about music and artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to hip hop, rap, soul, and R&B. So do me a favor. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. The Rap Soul Podcast is something that you definitely need to tune into and share it with a friend. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000. Yeah.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle Podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle Podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.